cosplayers do it best. Hey guys, on today's episode of Cosplay Chris, I'll be showing you how I made Hydrocal castings of my hands for my Edward Scissorhands Cosplay project. I'm not finished. Anyway. Now these castings will be used to sculpt the thumb scissors and the palm plates on the final props, as an exact fitting of my hand was required. It's a pretty fun and messy process, but with that being said, here's how it's done. Now that green powder that you see me pouring into the bucket is what's called alginate. Now alginate is one of the most common substances used for creating Lifecasts for prosthetics, but also it's used for dental work. If you've ever gone to the orthodontist or the dentist and ever had to get a plate or a retainer, whenever they take an impression of your mouth, alginate is what's used to take that impression. So it's a seaweed based powder, so it's non-toxic, but still it's something you don't really want to ingest. Now you can see I'm just pouring it in like so. Now I actually forgot to press record when I was mixing the actual powder with water. So I actually get a blender and blend it all together. Now you have to add the water to the powder. It can never be the other way around, or else it just will not mix properly. So for some reason, you have to pour the powder in first and then the water. And it's pretty much just a guessing game in terms of mixing it all together. There is a mix ratio on the bucket, but to be honest, I just wing it. I like to get a really thick consistency, not too thick and gluggy, or else it won't make a detailed casting. As you see here, I'm just getting my hand nice and ready, get it in the pose that I want it to be, like so. And then very carefully just dunk your hand in. Now once it's in, you want to move your hand about the alginate, just to get it in all the crevices, all the detail on your hand. Just move it around, give your hand a scrunch your hand up, and there we go. So about 10 minutes later, it's ready to be demolded. So what you gotta do is wiggle your hand about like so, and that releases all the eggs. This is an airtight mold. So you just carefully wriggle your fingers about, let some air in, and eventually, and very carefully, let your hand slip out like so. And that is a perfect casting, actually one of my best, to be honest. Now this is Hydrocal 105. It's a gypsum based plaster, so it's a little bit more durable than regular casting or plaster of Paris. So as you can see, just start mixing, and you just start sifting the powder on top of the water, mix it in by hand. And I'll just speed this up a little just to speed up the process. So you just keep going till you find a consistency that you're happy with. I like to have a consistency that's something similar to, say, custard, but also not too thick, as again, it will have trouble picking up all the detail. So now I've got my consistency to where I want it. Just flick the excess powder off that hand, and we're ready to start pouring in our mold. Now you just very carefully pour a little bit of Hydrocal in like so, and this is what's called a print coat. Now this is where you're going to get all the detail by slushing a little bit of Hydrocal around, and this will pick up all the detail and all the crevices, the fingerprints, etc. So I just had to pour a little bit more in. Oops. And just keep slushing it around like so. Now it doesn't really matter if any spills out, it's no big deal. And keep going. Now you're not really racing against the clock with Hydrocal as opposed to the green alginate, whereas you've only got about several minutes before it sets. So you can take your time with this, but you still just want to get it in all the crevices and leave it to sit so it'll cure. Now Hydrocal, like most plasters, works on heat. That's how it cures. It uses heat to cure and set. So now I'm going to pour the remainder in. Now most times out of 10 when I use plaster and mix it up, I think I've got the right amount, but I'm always left with a mass amount left over. So again, I just wing it, whatever. And just fill it right to the top and make sure it's leveled out so it can stand evenly once you remove the casting. Alright, good to go. Now as you see, I'm tapping it on the sides. That's to get all the air bubbles out from the bottom of the mold to the surface. You don't want those unsightly air bubbles on your perfect casting. Sometimes you can give it a tap with a hammer, but not really necessary. A couple of taps with a hand will do fine. And I'm just leveling it out like so. And now we're ready to leave it to dry. Okay, so about half an hour later, it's ready to be demolded. Now it's still a little bit hot, but that's fine. You can still demold it when it's still a little bit warm. Now what I like to do is put a ruler in the side here just to get some air in, because again this is airtight mold, like so. Sometimes it helps to spritz water down the sides and that'll release it. As you can see here, I'll try pushing on the bottom and that doesn't really work, so worst comes to worst, just grab a blade and start cutting away, and that will eventually release air into the side panels. Just making sure you don't hit your casting. As you can see, I was very careful there. Just start tearing away at the alginate. Alright, so there we go. We've got the alginate mold and the plaster casting out of the Tupperware container. And now it's time to start cutting away that alginate to reveal our Hydrocal casting. Now I'll just speed this up because this can get pretty fiddly. And you want to be really careful just to make sure you don't damage the actual casting. And there you have it. There is our Hydrocal casting out of an alginate mold. And there is my right hand, which I did the night before. So now I've got the pair, lefty and righty, ready to be used as armatures to sculpt on. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and always remember, cosplayers do it best.